If you're planning a marquee wedding, then you don't want to miss this video. Before we get started, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and think about subscribing. I post videos on weddings, wedding planning and tarot readings related to weddings. My social media is in the description and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. Now let's get started with today's video on things you need to know when having a marquee wedding. Marquee weddings are beautiful and I love a wedding in a tent, but they do come with their logistical challenges. This video will go through some of the things you need to think about if you're going to have a wedding in a marquee. Choosing your location. A marquee needs a large, flat and sometimes grassy area on which to pitch the marquee. If you have access to a field or you've got a very large garden, then you can use these. However, if you don't have a field or a garden big enough, you're going to have to hire a location. This can be the grounds of a wedding venue, for example the grounds of a castle or a stately home or hotel, or you could hire a field from a local farmer. You'll need to factor in the cost of hiring the grounds or the field into your wedding costs. What style of marquee do you prefer? There are many options available and I'll run through the main options now. Pole marquees are made with canvas and they have poles running through the centre up through the roof to give it shape and structure. These need a grassy location as they're anchored by pegs. The clear span marquee is the traditional looking one, and this doesn't have poles or pegs, so there's no restrictions on where you can place these. They give plenty of scope for personalisation with linings, floorings, doors and other extras. Yurts are traditionally circular in shape. The structure comprises of an assembly of lattice work for walls, the door frame, ribs and a wheel which is the crown of the tent. The stretch or capri tent, these can be easily adapted to any space and location and they give a modern stylish look. The teepee has been very popular over the last few years and this gives a relaxed, rustic or festival vibe to a wedding. The sides can lift up easily to allow access. Often they come with a fire pit to keep the tent warm in the evenings. Other options include the dome, Moroccan tents or Arabic tents and pagodas. So find which would fit your wedding vibe and location the best. If you're having a marquee wedding, you have to hire in everything. Electricity supply, water supply, flooring, heating, tables, chairs, dance floor, toilets, very important. Even if you're having your wedding in your own back garden, I heartily recommend that you hire in toilets. You don't really want all your guests queuing for your downstairs loo and potentially blocking it. This did happen at a wedding that I coordinated. It was one of my very first weddings, and had I been a more experienced wedding planner, I would have insisted that they hired in toilets. I did recommend it, but they insisted that they had enough toilets at the house and it would be fine. So it's very important that you have an electricity source such as a generator. Don't think about plugging your mains into one of your plug sockets in your house. It's just not going to work. You think about all the lights that have got to run off this power supply, heating has to run off it, the band, the DJ, the catering potentially might need electricity. Again, another wedding, they insisted that they didn't need a generator, and 20 minutes before they all arrived back from the church, the caterer blew the fuse in the tent. So yes, and it was a burnt out fuse in the plug in the downstairs toilet. So yeah, wasn't good. But it did get fixed because luckily one of the guests was an electrician. So always handy to have an electrician friend. When you get your generator, make sure someone knows how to switch it on, how to add fuel if required, and also has the number of the contact in case there's any breakdowns. This would usually be me at a wedding. But if you don't have a wedding planner, then you'll need somebody who knows these things. Heating in a marquee. You may think it's a lovely sunny day in the UK sometimes, but you're going to need heating, especially as it gets cooler in the evenings. Lighting. You're going to need lots of lighting. Main lights, uplighters, fairy lights by the thousands, festoon lights to light the paths, because you don't want your guests getting lost in the dark or tripping over guide ropes. Flooring. There's lots of different flooring types for marquees, and it all depends on the type of marquee you've got. But I would recommend that you also get a dance floor, because some of the matting that you get in tents is not very good to dance on. You'll obviously need to hire in all the tables and chairs. Now make sure you get enough tables and chairs, not just for the tables that you've got for your guests. You need to remember the top table, you need gift table, a welcome table if you're having one, cake table. Do you need extra tables for the buffet? The DJ need a table? The catering need tables bringing in? Make sure you've got the answers to these before you order all your tables, and make sure you've got enough. Same goes for tablecloths. Make sure every table you order has a tablecloth to go on it. I did one wedding, I coordinated the day, and when I got there, some of the tables didn't have tablecloths on. And I've got a feeling that they forgot about the top table and used tablecloths for that, so didn't have enough for the other tables. So it was a quick trip to the big supermarket to get white paper tablecloths, but once they were addressed with the table runners and table centres, it didn't look too bad. And make sure you also have enough chairs. Order more than you need, because this was also the wedding where I got there and there were no chairs on the top table at all. So after I went round and checked all the tables against my list of who was sitting on there and moved chairs from tables that didn't need them because they had extra chairs, we were still a few chairs short. So I've got a feeling that the bride and groom maybe forgot to include themselves when they were ordering chairs. So always make sure you order a few more. It may be that your musicians will also need chairs to sit on. Other things you might have to hire for a marquee wedding: a bar. If you're doing the drinks yourself, then obviously you'll need somewhere to serve them from, and you can hire in bars. Are you wanting a separate little seating area for people to relax? Then you'll need to hire in sofas and low tables. Your marquee hire company will usually assist you with all the things that you need to hire. So remember to discuss with them all your requirements, and especially guest numbers. One thing to remember, marquees are not a cheap option. By the time you've hired everything in, and especially if you need to hire somewhere to put the marquee, it can cost more than a decent hotel or country house. So make sure you do your sums first. However, marquees look amazing, and they're so photogenic and beautiful, and you can dress them any way you like. Rustic, to glamorous, to country chic. You can have circus theme, you can do anything with a marquee. And especially if they're out in the countryside, you have a very beautiful setting. If your marquee is out in the middle of nowhere, you need to make sure there's a clean water source available, because the guests will want water on the table, the caterer will need water for cooking and cleaning, and the bar will also need water. So it may be the case that you need to bring in lots of bottled water. Another thing to remember, if you're having your wedding in the middle of nowhere, there won't be a cash point nearby. So if you are having a bar company in, a paying bar, make sure your guests know that it's in a location where there isn't a cash point. Another thing about marquee weddings is the marquees are very difficult to get the temperature right. It can be a bit cold, they can be too hot. Maybe think about this when you're choosing your wedding cake. The cake that's got a lot of buttercream on it will start to sag and attract flies and wasps. You also need to think about how you get into the marquee. If you've picked a location that's in the middle of nowhere and it's up a steep hill or it's at the bottom of a hill, you need to make sure that all your guests can get there easily. If you know it's going to be muddy, then make sure your guests know that maybe they need to wear wellies and not heels. So I hope you found this little video useful and you've got more information to help you choose whether to have a marquee wedding or not. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now. Just to add, my book, Planning a Wedding, The Wedding Planner Way, will be out soon. If you want to be the first to know when it comes out, check out the description for details of how to be notified. Bye for now.